Hello everybody, and welcome back to 333 News. On this week's episode, we have a lot of reporting to do about the coronavirus, because a lot has been happening recently. And you'll find that it is very concerning what's going on around the world right now, considering that coronavirus is on a global rise in many places, and I'm about to show you where those places are and what exactly is going on there with the coronavirus. So, we are first going to start off by looking into the third wave going underway in the US and how it has changed within the last week. Since we have reported on that last week and we've seen a few updates on it within the week, so I will display a comparison between the worldwide graph and the US graph of daily cases over here on the top right corner. So what you will note, yes, that is not the most recent day. You probably have noticed, for the US. That is October 23rd, which is the day that we reported over 80,000 cases in a single day for the first time in the pandemic. India is the only other country that has so far done that. So, that is a pretty big concern. And you will notice that worldwide we're going over 450,000 cases per day. We might not be there quite yet, but we're definitely going to surpass that if the trend continues going up this way. Alright, so with that out of the way, you can see that the US is definitely taking a dark turn as we head towards the winter. And as you know, winter is a time where viruses tend to become, thriving things in society. It's when the flu season is. So you can probably pick up on that and say that coronavirus will also thrive during the winter season, and so far that seems to be holding true, because as temperatures are dropping, cases are rising, and I cannot say that's a good thing, because as we head into the winter season, that can only mean things could take a turn for the worst for the pandemic. Alright, now, our next story here, 4 countries in just 1 week have surpassed 1 million cases in total. They have been going up pretty slowly for a while, but here I have the top 10 countries as of today in total infections. And you will see that there are 4 countries that have been over a million for a while, and there are now 4 new countries at 1 million or higher. Those ones are labeled in red, and the ones that have been above a million for a while are labeled in blue. So, and then the 2 below are Peru and Mexico, which are 9 and 10 on the leaderboard. I forget. You can see the image to the right, but I cannot see the image as I'm reporting. So, those are still below 900,000, but they are probably soon going to crawl up to a million as well. So, yeah. You'll note that this pandemic is definitely taking a turn for the worse now. And that is not even the highlight of today's news report. There is still more to go on the coronavirus. So, now for our third and final major story today. There is a huge surge going on in Europe right now for the coronavirus. And it was definitely noticeable last week, but it's now more prominent today and throughout this week. So, I'm going to show you a compilation of 9 European countries' daily cases graphs in the top right corner now. So, you will note that the 9 graphs I have chosen to show are Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Romania, Spain, and the UK. Because those countries are showing a huge increase in the daily case rate. And, yeah, I've labeled each in a different color so you'll be able to differentiate them more easily because, when we looked up the graphs, they were all in the same color, so I made some modifications to make sure you could visually tell the difference between them. And I'm sure you'll already be able to do that, but since they're all having major spikes, some people might not be able to do that so easily. So, yeah. And this is very concerning because there are at least 150,000 new cases per day in Europe now. And France is definitely having the biggest surge out of all European countries, with now more than 40,000 cases per day, surpassing Brazil's daily case rate right now. And that's a major concern, considering they're also one of the countries that has recently surpassed 1 million cases total. So, we're going to end this episode of 333 News off by once again reminding you to follow the guidelines being issued by the WHO and CDC to practice social distancing, wear masks, and wash your hands as often as you need to in order to stay hygienic, clean, and make sure the virus will not get into your home, in your system, in your body. Make sure the virus does not infect you or other people. And while we have noticed an increase in people who are following the mask guidelines, there are still people who refuse to social distance, and that I urge you to do, especially as we head into the winter months where the virus will more easily spread through the cold air, because there will be a lack of water droplets in the air thanks to the humidity decrease, because when the air gets colder, then there's less capacity for water in the air. So that means the virus particles will be able to fly further through the air, which causes for easier spread of it. So that is why masks and social distancing will be much more important as we go into the winter. Thank you for watching this week's episode of 333 News. I will see you next week for next week's episode. And hopefully we'll have better news than this, because this was some really dark news, but I also find it to be very important. So that's why I have to bring it out to you, and that is why we had to spend a lot of time researching it and compiling together the images that you've seen in today's episode. So without further ado, that is all for today's episode, and I'll see you next week.